The T800 and the T880. Besides some 8s and 0s and a T, what's up with these two trucks? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, thanks for tuning in again this week, guys. This week, we're going to do some comparisons between the T800 and the T880. Now, as I've said before, it's very much my job to educate you guys, and as you go through, you decide what's the right vehicle for your business. This is another one of those. Will I call the winner? Yeah, but it's going to be more for which one I'd rather get into. Now, I know you're thinking that I'm going to be biased because red truck, I'm not. I am going to look at these objectively. To me, these are both phenomenal trucks. There's a reason why this one's been around forever. And there's some reasons why I think this one's going to be around for a very long time itself. So let's start talking about some of that and see what we've got. First, I know some of you guys find my parking jobs entertaining. So we'll do some B-roll after I let you look at that.
Tonight I'm gonna pick myself a fight. If some deserving dirtbag, a black eye, and if he swings at me, then I'll bust that sucker's knee. 'Cause tonight I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean. The meanest hunk of meat that anyone's ever seen. Get out of the way of the hurricane. There's a heavy price to pay. Tonight I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean. And tonight I'm gonna drink.
So when you start to look at these trucks from a mechanical aspect, what they're going to do, they're designed to kind of fit the same jobs and kind of fit the same bill for each other. That's why, actually standing right behind you there, we've got a row of dump trucks that are both T800s and T880s. So I want to talk about these two trucks as they are, not necessarily in comparison, because both these trucks are in stock and ready to go to work for you today, because you guys knew I needed to put the sales pitch in there somewhere, right? Nonetheless, both of them are X15, both of them are 485 horsepower. Both of them, 1,650 foot-pounds of torque. Both of them have 10-speed transmissions. That one happens to have a stick coming through the floor. That one has the shifter on the column. This one is an ultra-shift transmission. So one of the things that we're going to say right up between these two trucks, and this is something that I covered in the W990 versus W900 video, from about here down, we can make these trucks the same. I could put the same front ends underneath them. I could put the same back ends underneath them. I can put the same fifth wheels on them. We can make them the same, except for a few other parts. So really, let's just talk about each one of these trucks as an individual first. So I'm going to spend some time over here at the T800.
Tonight I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean. Tonight I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean.
So this one's got 13.2 front end. It's got disc brakes up front. In the back, it's got something that we haven't done as many times, but still is a great setup. It's got a Hendrickson suspension in the rear. For the rear end gears, 390s, both of them have lockers in them. And this truck sits on a 189-inch wheelbase. On top of that, one of the reasons why we have it set up this way, you've got space for a hydraulic tank here if you need it. This transmission will accept a PTO, so if you're going to be running something that's going to take a wet line, this truck would be happy to do it for you. We've got the polished cover on this side, we've got the polished tank on the other side. Obviously, the chrome angled bumper for the ground clearance. When you look at this truck, it's got just enough shiny on it. Just enough things to make it look really good. In the same sense, it's not gonna break the bank either. Next up, T880.
Tonight I'm feeling me, gonna make an ugly scene. Tonight I'm feeling mean, I'm feeling mean.
As I mentioned before, this truck does have the ultra shift transmission in it. I cannot emphasize enough, if you try to make the transmission do things that it doesn't want to do, you're going to hate it. If you learn and adapt, you're going to love this transmission. Obviously, I kind of like the red paint on this truck, but that's besides the point. In this one runs a 185-inch wheelbase. Over on the other side, we've got a hydraulic tank set up for you. Once again, 11R 22.5-inch rubber. That's front and rear. It's all wrapped around Alcoa Durabrite wheels. The back end, it gets a little different. This one, we've got the AG 400 suspension. Now, I know you've heard me talk about that one before. Yes, this is the 8-bag suspension. Very versatile, very forgiving suspension. It's a great way to go on these. Stuffed in the rear ends, though? Yep, same 390 rear end gears. So, with this, let's talk about some of the changes that were made between these two trucks. So if we're going to look at this from ground, basically top of the buggy here. The T800, yes, I got to use notes. I cannot remember this stuff, guys. On the T800, 71.5 inches. Now what's interesting about it is if you come back here to the T880, 69 inches. So that hood is just a hair shorter at the front. Now, how much of a difference is that going to make? It really all depends. From a visibility standpoint, in driving both of these trucks, visibility is amazing on both of them. I don't see one way or the other being better in this. Now, another way that they are slightly different is the grille width. The T800, we're 48 inches across here. And I believe I measured that outside to outside here. On the T880, we're 52 inches wide. So there's an extra 4 inches of width there. Now, what are some of the pros and cons to that? Well, when you can look at cooling area and things of that nature, there's also some more frontal area. There's some give and take there. Really, with it being 4 inches of width overall, I'm not putting much into that. From the front end, both of the bumpers look almost identical. There's the tow hitch, there's the tow hitch, there's the pins, there's the step. There's the same thing on the T880. So let's look at some other measurements on these trucks. Think we're going to find anything else that's different? Because all these, I'm really not thinking that there's much between them. So we've talked hood heights, we've talked grille widths. So what are some of the numbers that actually matter in this? From here to axle matters, right? Because that we're looking in terms of wheelbase, we're looking in terms of wheel cut, we're looking in terms of approach and departure angles. All sorts of stuff plays into that. According to my measurements, we're at about 47 inches on this. Just looking at it, where do you think the T800 is? 47 inches. So let's go one step beyond that. Let's look at axle to back of cab. So what I'm talking about is from here to here. And the same thing over on the T800. From here to here. So when we look at both of those, you guessed it, 74 inches. They are both the same. So many of these measurements are the same. And if you can spec these trucks identically in terms of suspension, wheels, engines, transmissions, I mean, in terms of everything else, if you can spec them identically for the chassis, what is different? Well, the hood's obviously different when you look at the two of them, but the cab is where these two trucks go their separate ways. But there's still some stuff in common. So let's go ahead and get in them both. We'll talk about them from there. So we've talked about how the outside of these two trucks are different. And obviously if the outside of the cab is very different, then the inside of the cab is going to be different. To me, whenever I get in, whether it's a T800 or a W900 or any truck that uses the 1.9 meter cab, I'm always reminded of why this cab has been around for so long. It's just well thought out, it's well laid out, it's one of those things that just works. And as you look around, the stuff like the storage compartments, things of that nature, everything's within easy reach. The dashboard here, everything's within easy reach. This specific truck, because it doesn't have smart wheel to it, your Jake brake controls are right here, your cruise controls right here, the lockers are right there. All your controls are within easy reach. I know just from experience in this that this cab is actually a pretty small cab. But overall, when you look at everything in this truck, it is a small cab, but it doesn't feel cramped. It doesn't feel too small, which to me speaks loads of the design in this cab and probably why it's lasted so long. Now this interior I know was updated a number of years ago and it looks good, but in the same sense when you look at the gauge layout, just when you see things in this cab, you could tell it's not designed yesterday. You could tell there's a couple of years in it. Now, granted, a lot of those years have gone into refining this and making this just a great cab. To me, once again, every time I sit in a T800, W900, any one of these 1.9 meter cabs, I know why guys love them. They just have a great feel to them. Not to mention, if I go about 50 feet over that way, someone's mowing the lawn right now in a commercial mower. You guys all know those aren't exactly known for being quiet. And if you listen, you really can't even hear it in here. This is just the cab that was designed to stand the test of time. And it has. So when you get out of the T800, which is right next to me, and into the T880, it's a different truck. But besides the emblems here, you can still tell that it's done by the same manufacturer. There's all sorts of little touches that just seem very familiar. In terms of the way this header panel is set up, when you compare them side to side, they look different, but a lot of the cues in them are the same. It's just one of those things where you can definitely tell that they're related. When you look at the dashboard, it's just an entirely different layout. Now this is the 2.1 meter cab. So this cab is actually a little bit wider than the other one. And it feels really spacious. It doesn't make the truck feel bulky. It just feels like the right size for a truck. With that added space, the dash layout can change how it's done. As you can see over here, the dash actually comes towards me a little bit more. It allows me better access to the switches. The fact that I've got a nice area here, whether it's for pusher axle controls, dump bed controls, things of that nature, or my lunchbox, there's a lot more room here. When you look at the controls and everything like that, they've got a modern feel to them. And that to me it's nice. We've made progress in the past 20 years or so. That modern feel and that modern look to me is just, it makes things more comfortable. It makes things more familiar. Now this truck does have the smart wheel, so there's the controls up here. Once again, just as if in the T800, everything's really easy to reach. Everything's really easy to see. I don't need to be lunging for things. I don't need to be searching for things. It's all right here. On top of that, this cab is car-like in how quiet it really is. It's amazing. When you look at the door seals, they've built on the experience of the 3 door seals used on the T800. But they've changed how the hinge is done. And when you look at that hinge, I'll hang on the end of that door and not worry about it any day of the week. It is a solid, really just well-built hinge. All of this interior, though, you can tell is designed with the driver in mind. There's nothing in here that was an afterthought. There was nothing in here like, oh, we need to add this to make the driver more comfortable or anything like that. It's all here. It was all thought of. I really like the T800 interior. It's the same as the W9 interior. It's just got that classic feel to it. And it's a great classic interior. If I got to spend all day in it though, no, it's not just because the truck's red either. I feel like I am standing in between 2 of the best vocational trucks ever made. The T800 and the T880 both just have proven what they're able to do. Now, I think you guys already know which one's going to be my choice in the grand scheme of things, but I have a couple of final thoughts on this. There's a local business that on the side of their vans they have a saying, being the oldest doesn't make you the best, but being the best makes you the oldest. And I think that speaks volumes about the T800. This truck has been around for an incredibly long time. It's shown it's here to stand the test of time. You don't do that by not being the best. And Kenworth has made constant improvements to that truck to make sure that it stays up on top. Now, on the flip side of that, we've got the new kid here. The new kid, I feel, is that kind of second child of sorts. It's taken all the lessons that the first child learned and has built on those and has improved on those. When you look at them, you still know that they are related. But there's some tweaks that have been made. There's some evolving that's been done that's just made it that much better. So yes, I'm going with the T880. Whether it's me driving it or whether it's me putting a driver in it, I can confidently say whoever's sitting in that driver's seat is going to love that truck. And I know you guys are going to say it's just because it's red. It could be purple. I'd still go with it. What are your thoughts on all this? Do me a favor, put that in the comments below. Love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I know there's a few guys, maybe James, that may disagree with me on this one. Either way, let me know, guys. I love the feedback I get in the comments. We're going to be changing some things a little bit because of your comments, so thank you for those. On top of that, you think we earned it, by all means give us the thumbs up. As always, stay safe out there. Keep a rubber side down. We'll catch you on the flip side. I can't go that way.
Tonight I'm gonna pick myself